And if we all get shut down from, or it all freezes, know that we love you and we're thinking of you. And we will. I also want to show you at the top of your screen, at least on the upper right, there's a piece that can look a little bit like either a checkerboard or a box with three smaller boxes on top. That's the view. So if you choose the gallery view, you can see little snapshots of all the people turning in if they've decided to turn on their video. Or you can do the other thing from, so either from the pulpit or from our musicians this morning. I think this. If you have questions, feel free to type them in the chat box. We also know people are joining by phone, by conference call this morning, and we have not figured out if there is a way for you, because we can't unmute you without it getting all chaotic. So know that we are thinking of you too, even if you are not as present in as many ways. It's very weird to do this as broadcast. Let us begin. So last Sunday, our youth offered us up some little mantras that included things like live out change, which I think is on your screen, and live out love and live out hope. And what a week it has been. What an opportunity to figure out how to do new things, which plans are essential and which are not, how to keep a social distance from everyone. It's hard. We are adjusting and we are keeping one another as safe as we can, which is beautiful. And it is hard. None of us expected this week to unfold as it had. So many of us are learning new things and finding new ways to be and new ways to make connections. And so I want to thank those of you who are trying out this new thing, meeting, because we might be doing this for a little while. And we're here. And it's not the same, but it is good. I'm glad you're here. Come, let us gather. Come, let us worship.
Good morning. My name is Sibel. I am a member of the Sunday Services Committee, and it is my privilege to welcome you to the first online service of People's Church. I look just as short this way as I do when you're here in person. So in this new version of our service, I've been thinking about how when Daryl wrote that we were people of hope, love, and people of change, hope we all understand, a vision of a future, a place that's better, a vision of community, and love, of course, what ties our community together. When he wrote about change, I meant changing the world, but it turns out we're also really good at adaptation, which is another form of change. When we went through the interim before we hired Reverend Rachel, there were some challenges in this community. And what I was most impressed about was how resilient we were, how people stepped up to support the community, to knit together the church when it was wounded, and to help each other. And I know that resilience will serve us well in this time of challenge. The technology changes, but the community of hope, of love, and resilience, that remains. So welcome to those on the east, on the west, on the north, and on the south of our building today, those tuning in from the moderate heights of West Nitch Hill or the lowlands near the river, those in the city, in the townships, and in the rural areas, those in the woodlands, those on the prairie. And may I suggest that from now on, People's Church greeting when you meet anybody in public will be namaste. I honor you by bowing to you rather than shaking your hand. Welcome to this service of People's Church.
Welcome you at home to find a comfortable singing posture. Here we go. We'll start with breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, when I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love.
Why a flaming chalice? The question comes. It's the cup of life, we answer. A cup of blessings overflowing. A cup of water to quench our spirit's thirst. A cup of wine, celebration and dedication. The flame of truth. The fire of purification. Oil for anointing, healing. Out of chaos, fear, and horror, thus was crafted a generation ago. So may it be for us in these days of uncertainty, and a light to warm our souls and guide us home.
I have a few announcements this morning. As you know, because you're here, large group gatherings are canceled at our church for a while. We don't really know how long that's going to be. We're encouraging all groups in the church postpone or move online or find new or creative ways to gather. If you need help with the technical reasons to make that happen, let me know. Yes, tech support available. We're also putting together some special new events for this time when so many of us are feeling more isolated than usual. Watch for an email from the church, a few different spiritual practices and virtual coffee hours. And what I'm really excited about, a story time for anyone who wants a story time, led by a children's librarian in the congregation. It'll be on weekdays at 10, beginning on Tuesday. So if you could use a story and some singing together, please join us then in this space. The same link, just come in here. It was supposed to be the end of our stewardship campaign. We were going to have a really big party. There was going to be cake. It was going to be amazing. And we'll do that whenever we can. If you find yourself with nothing to do and want a pledge card, you can do that at the church website. I'm also asking those of you who have the time and the technical wisdom to record a YouTube video of yourself. You could be doing anything. Introduce us to your pets, or show us your garden, or host your own mini cooking lesson, whatever it is. We would love to see it. I'm hoping a few days to put together a playlist at our YouTube channel of folks showing things off as a way to knit connections together. I know my kids especially would love to see videos of their church friends and the church people they don't know, them how to do things. And I know I would like to see those too. Those are the announcements for now. We are going to sing again, I believe. That's my order of service. We're going to have a story. I apologize. Here it is.
Good morning. It all began with a mistake. Granny got up out of bed at midnight and it was morning. She got up, she had some breakfast, and then she fed her horse. Her horse's name was Smart, and they had been together for 40 years. She loaded up his saddle, saddled him up and loaded up the bags with all the wares that she had planned to sell at the market. Eggs and jam and breads that she had made. And at the very top of the basket, she put her knitting needles. She thought on the journey she would continue to knit on the stockings that she had been making. And off they went. Fortunately, Smart knew the way to town because he was traveling in the dark. And as he ambled along the trail, the lull of the cadence kind of lulled Granny to sleep. Suddenly, she did not know how long she had slept or where she was, but she realized that Smart had stopped dead in his tracks, and he was completely shivering with fear. Even his mane and his tail were frozen with fear, and that's when she heard it. Galloping horse hooves, getting closer and closer. The sound was ominous. This was no normal rider that was coming their way. No, something was amiss in the forest. And then she realized that Smart was staring straight ahead at the grass directly in front of him, stock still. It was then that she was reminded the importance of staying calm in the midst of frightening times. So she pulled her knitting needles out of the top of her basket. Right then, a rabbit came out of nowhere and jumped on her lap. It too was shivering with fear, and instinctively she took the rabbit and put it inside her basket and closed the lid. Grandmother began to knit. Very methodically. Click, 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 click went the knitting needles as she knitted on her stockings. It was right at that moment that the rider pulled up beside her, stared straight ahead, and just continued to knit. Looking down, click, 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 click went the knitting needles. "Have you seen a hare run past here?" said the rider without even hello. Continuing to look down and not look up at the rider, it was clear what her answer was. Click, 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 click. She was shivering. She was shaking all over. "Fine," said the rider as he galloped off, dug his heels into his horse. Now, the granny didn't lie because she did not see the rabbit run by her, because the rabbit was still located in her basket. As soon as the horse went riding away, Smart, who had not gone the 20 years, last 20, suddenly took off and went the opposite direction as quickly as he could. He ran until he reached the stream, and then he walked down the center of the stream. Right at that moment, Granny heard a rustle in her basket, And as she opened the lid, out came a young woman. And the young woman said, "Thank you, thank you, thank you." And Granny said, "Oh," she patted Smart on the shoulder and said, "We just did what needed to be done. Yes, by hiding me, you saved my life. Thank you." And Granny just shrugged her shoulders. The young woman kissed her on the cheek and left. And Smart got back and all the way back into town. When Granny got to town, she realized that the clock in the town hall said 3 o'clock in the morning. What am I doing? Oh, 3 o'clock in the morning, she said. How could I have made such a mistake? But then she thought, or was it a mistake, when she thought of the young woman that she had saved? With that, she lied down on a park bench and she dozed back off to sleep with Smart standing next to her, sleeping. Who knew that a horse and a pair of needles could have provided such a sense of courage in such a frightening time? But then there are some that say that the key to courage is to relax and open your heart, follow your heart, and you will go on and do what needs to be done. And you think you don't know what to do. Who or what is the horse that steadies you in your life? What are the things that ground and calm you and keep you brave when times are hard and in difficult situations? Let's try to do more of that.
This week has been hard, and there have been some moments of incredible beauty. One of those moments for me was after I sent an email a few days ago saying, or asking people who are able to give donations to the minister's discretionary fund of this church to help the members of our church who will be suffering financially from this period of social distancing and closures. So many of you gave so generously. We have thousands of dollars promised. And I've been able to share those promises with folks in our church who work in the restaurant industry or have hourly jobs that are likely to not be needed, or who have new needs for childcare now that the schools are closed. And we are all scrambling to find a new normal. It's been amazing to watch you all come together and hold one another, but not touch one another through this time. You all are generous, and we are going to figure out a way through this unprecedented time together. So in a moment, you're going to see the online giving link appear in the chat box. And I invite you to be the generous people that you already are and support one another, support this community with your giving and in so many other ways. Thank you.
Blessed Spirit of my life,
if you would join me in expressing thanks for the generosity of our community. From the countless gifts we each have been given, gifts of life and love and sustenance, we bring these small portions to share works of love which none of us can accomplish alone.
This is a community that supports one another in good times and hard times and unprecedented times. We are going to try to share some joys and sorrows with one another this morning. I invite you to, if you're doing this by video, to type in the search box, or the chat box. We are going to turn off recording for this because we're going to broadcast the rest of the service or upload it to YouTube later. This.
I invite you to join me in doing some breathing meditation. If you're willing and able, I invite you to all join me in taking a deep breath. and out together. You may wish to place your hand on your belly to be sure that you're taking deep belly breaths. Does your hand rise and fall as you breathe in and out? Breathing in, I am breathing in, and breathing out. I know I am breathing out. Breathing in, my breath grows deep. And breathing out, my breath grows slow. Breathing in, I feel calm. And breathing out, I feel at ease. Breathing in, I dwell in the present moment. And breathing out, I know this is a wonderful moment. As you breathe in, notice if there are places in your body where you're holding any tension. Try to relax your shoulders, your jaw, your forehead. As you exhale, just try to allow your whole body to release and to relax. If you find yourself feeling worried or afraid, I invite you to imagine your fears are like steam. And as you exhale, allow all of your fears and your worries to exit your body through your mouth and imagine steam being released. Let's take several deep belly breaths while picturing all of our worries and our fears, anything we no longer need, not serving us, being released. Just exhale and let go of all that you no longer need. And now I'd like to invite you in doing an elemental purification breath together, which comes from the book called Everyday Spiritual Practice by Scott Alexander. We start with the earth breath. Breathe in and out through your nose. Relax your feet and your legs. And on the inhale, I want you to feel the nurturing energy of the earth rising through you, surrounding you, and renewing you. On the exhale, visualize the magnetism of the earth below you, drawing, clearing away anything you no longer need that's not serving you, any pain or fear or anxiety. In through your nose, drawing in the earth's energy, and through your nose, releasing back into the earth what you know, what you don't need. The second breath is the water breath. And this one you breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Relax your abdomen. Visualize standing in a shower or a waterfall, and as the water pours over your head, imagine that it is cleansing and refreshing and renewing you. Draw that water in your nose, through the crown of your head on the inhale, and diffuse it through the body on the exhale, rinsing away any impurities anything you don't need. Feel all that is dry being moistened and transfused in through your nose and out. The next breath is your fire breath. In through your mouth and out through your nose. Open your heart, your solar plexus, and as you breathe in, suck in that air that will act as a bellows to fuel the fire inside of you. Melting and burning away any waste or dross, whatever needs transforming in you. On the exhale, imagine carrying ash and the smoke moving out through you, releasing it in through the mouth and out through the nose. The final breath is the air breath, in and out of the mouth. This is a very shallow and subtle breath, almost like you are straw. Feel your mouth relaxed, surrendered, slightly open. Visualize the winds of the air gently caressing you. With the slightest draw, feel the air entering your mouth and in your throat. Maintaining the sense of the breath's connection to the vastness of air and the spaciousness of the skies. Enjoy the space between your breaths as pure stillness and pure freedom in and out of your mouth. Consciously breathing in this way can help to soften our pain, anxiety, fear, and resistance. I invite yourself to imagine yourself completely at peace. How would that feel? Take a moment to imagine yourself maintaining an inner state of calm and peace in a variety of situations. For the next few moments of silent meditation, you may wish to imagine this state of inner peace and calm being shared with anyone who needs it. We breathe in peace, we breathe out love.
one of the things that I learned this week is copyright law for the purposes of streaming. We are using things that are either in the public domain or things with which we have a personal relationship with the creators or otherwise permission. And it's an interesting challenge. But all of our readings today come from people I know. And it's a rich thing to realize I don't always have to grasp for the grand and the popular and the widely known, but that we have these strengths among us. So our first reading is by People's Person Beth Bulmer. Our second reading is from a Unitarian Universalist minister named Molly Hausch Gordon, who serves in Missouri. And our third reading is by Joanna Lynn Want, who used to be my neighbor here in Kalamazoo. She moved away a few years ago. Here's the first reading. Corona. The reasons we fear each other, sequester our unpopular thoughts, hold back our hands from tear-stained cheeks, ignore pain that doesn't directly belong to us, we're never less than invisible. Microscopic flotsam and jetsam on the wind, connecting one breath to the next, whether we like it or not. It was never our choice to touch a stranger or turn away. Like the sun steadily receding from the day, only to light the same sky on the other side of the earth, we have always, will always be one and the same, with 8 billion ideas of how we're separate.
How to Survive the End of the World by Molly Hausch Gordon. Get to know neighbors, feed them, let them feed you. Develop the muscle of generosity like you are training for a giving ultra marathon. Share everything you can with anyone who asks, and ask for what you need. Get in touch with your body. You will need it, and it knows things. Pay attention to what is happening below your neck. Tell the truth. Tell it to yourself first. Sit at the feet of your most vulnerable neighbors and your own most vulnerable places. They have the most to teach you about survival. Listen. Remember your ancestors and the things they survived. Find the resilience that is your birthright and the courage that made way for your life. Practice taking risks. Show up in every struggle where someone is fighting for their dignity, because that is how we will all survive. Learn about reparation and native sovereignty. Double down on exorcising supremacy systems from your soul. Learn to be tender. Refuse to be hardened. Let your heart be moved every damn time. Root in the place you are. Learn its history. Learn its geography. Learn its seasons. Sing along and dance. Make art, make love, rest luxuriously, eat pie. Litany of Intentions in a Time of Pandemic by Joanna Lynn Want. May we be happy. May we be peaceful. May we be free. May we grow in awareness of our interconnectedness to all beings. May we grow in love of our neighbor. May we grow our resolve to build a better social safety net for all. May we restore our commitment to the common good. May we wash our hands. May we wash our hands some more. May we buy only as much hand sanitizer as we need. If we must shelter in place, may we be grateful to have a shelter. May we be mindful of those who are without shelter. May we grow in curiosity and compassion toward those with empty pantries. May we fill the pantries of our neighbors as we fill our own. If we are sick, may we stay home. May we grow our grant all workers the same right. May we make small decisions mindful of the great impact they may have on our community. May we wash our hands. May we wash our hands some more. May we buy only as much hand sanitizer as we need. May we take solace in nature, in open spaces, in fresh air. May we grow in resolve to protect the precious resources of air, water, and land. May we be good friends to one another. May we grow in kindness, patience, and flexibility. May we offer up temporary disruptions in our daily lives for those whose lives have been disrupted for years. May we wash our hands. May we wash our hands some more. May we be mindful of those who are suffering. May we be mindful, or may we remember those who have perished. May we be happy. May we be peaceful. May we be free.
We are living through so many paradoxes in this time. This month, we've been beginning our services with the meditation on breathing. When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out out love. And it is this very breath, the respiratory droplets it contains that have spread a pandemic across the world. The very act of breathing near one another is what so endangers us now. And we need the breath, the calming breath, to get through this. As Beth wrote so beautifully this week, microscopic flotsam and jetsam on the wind, connecting one breath to the next, whether we like it or not. It was never our choice to touch a stranger or turn away. We are connected. It was never our choice to be connected. And if we ever doubted it, we're all part of an interdependent web of all existence, we can stop doubting that. That is not a statement of faith. It is a reality. When a virus transfers from animals to humans at a market, and then becomes a global pandemic, we learn that none of us are as distant from each other as we might appear. This is both a great strength and a great vulnerability. So many paradoxes. So may we grow in awareness of our interconnectedness to all beings. May we grow in our love of our neighbor. May we know we are all neighbors. There is so much we don't know right now. We are all trying and learning, do new things together and distant at the same time. I'm especially grateful that so many of you made an effort to be here this morning. And I'm grateful for those who are watching this at some later point once we figure out how to edit it all. It's an uncertain time, and I want to tell you some things that I know for sure. You've all maybe heard some of this before, but this week I'm finding myself returning to the old stories, the old wisdom, and not only because that's what's in the public domain for us to use in worship. So we need to feel our feelings, whether we are feeling dread or despair, fear or numbness, or the relief that can come from slowing down our busy lives. Notice the hard emotions. That doesn't always feel good. It's sometimes easier to escape or numb. Notice what you turn to when the overwhelm creeps in. How to help you to connect to your sources of wisdom and strength. We need to feel what we feel because we don't get to selectively numb ourselves. Guys can say you cannot numb emotion selectively. When we numb hard feelings, we numb joy, we numb gratitude, we numb happiness. And as we move through these times, we need all the joy and gratitude and happiness we find. So feel your feelings, especially when they are hard, and don't hold on to them. Find ways to acknowledge them and let them go. For me, I have started keeping a list of my very worst fears. And there's something about writing them down and getting them out of my heart onto a piece of paper that makes it a bit more manageable. I offer that to you as a practice. I trust that you can find your own. And if you need help, I am here. This week, I've been thinking about how my family made it through the Depression. I have no idea if our current moment will have such an impact, but it does feel possible. So after my grandmother's family had their farm repossessed, they ended up in a new town pursuing a job for my great-grandfather that didn't pan out as well as hoped. They arrived too late for planting season, and they had very little money. My grandmother's family survived that winter because their new neighbors, strangers, shared their hearts with the new family in town. Without that generosity, my family would not have survived. I literally would not exist. Because of the people, this new different family made sure they were fed, I am here. And this is not a particularly exceptional story. There are so many stories from that time that are similar, or for other times. We have these stories in us. Who are your ancestors? What did they have to teach you about living through times of uncertainty and fear? Perhaps this is time to write down the stories that you know, or ask the elders in your life for their stories of enduring in these times. In a generation, the stories of this time might be the ones that are retold to get us through the next crisis. Thinking about that family story has helped me to remember some words from Mr. Rogers, that great sage, who said, when I was a boy and I would see scary things in the news, my mother would say to me, look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping. And while looking for helpers is great advice for preschoolers, for adults, we also need to be the helpers. And so these are some of the ways that I've noticed others being a helper or being a helper myself this week. It's a first draft of these stories that we might tell later. People in the groups that are most vulnerable to this virus are changing their behavior to keep others safe. That is a big deal. People are starting to organize through spreadsheets and Facebook groups to connect with people with needs, with people willing to share. Technology is really an amazing tool in this moment, and it's great to see all of the many ways people are engaged. People are being generous with their money. They are tipping extravagantly when they have to work, when they interact with people who are working for tips. They are giving to our church discretionary to help folks in our church community who need financial support right now. People are offering free babysitting to people who need it right now. The medical professionals and caregivers and the many others have to keep working now, even when their children are out of school. People are calling neighbors to say, I have to go to the store. Do you need me to pick up anything for you? Or volunteering to run errands for folks who need it. If you need errands run for you, be in touch with me, because there are some church people who have already offered to do that. People are figuring out the skills they have and how they might meet the need the most. I know people who know how to bake bread who are setting up bread baking classes through things like Zoom, or leading dance classes or yoga, or all kinds of ways that we can be connected and distant. I'm really excited that we're going to have a story time in this church starting on Tuesday morning. A children's librarian with a gift for leading these stories will keep us all engaged and entertained and connected. And I encourage you, even if you're an adult, to join in, because we all need connection and story and joy. Each of these stories is very small, and each of them matters. Each of them improves the quality of our survival, and that matters. A few more tips for surviving and thriving now. This is spiritual advice more than medical advice, because there's plenty of that around, and I'm having trouble sorting through it myself sometimes. But my spiritual advice for these times: go outside every day. Go for a walk. I've learned that the Kalamazoo Nature Center is free right now. Just keep a distance from other people. Or go to that secret, beautiful, special place you know about. Talk to your neighbor from a safe distance. Sit on a porch or a patio or a stoop. The birds are coming back. The crocuses are starting to come up. Go outside. Be present to your body in a way that feels good to you. As Molly Hausch Gordon instructs, get in touch with your body. You will need it. It knows things. Perhaps do one of the breathing meditations, sung or spoken, that we have done in the service. Perhaps you can have a dance party in your kitchen. Exercise help get the anxiety out of our bodies. Find beauty, however you define it. reread a favorite novel, spend some time watching a beloved person or pet or tree. Decide it is time to memorize that poem that you love. Make art. We need beauty. I'm closing today with an image of strength and resilience in a challenging time that is beautiful, and nature and all of the things we're trying to remember to connect to in a time when we can be so isolated. It's the oak tree of the Gulf Coast. So a poet named Naima Penniman tells this story. When Hurricane Katrina slammed into the Gulf Coast, almost everything lost footing. Houses were detached from foundations, trees and shrubbery were uprooted, signposts and vehicles floated down the rivers that became of the streets. But amidst the whipping winds of water, the oak tree held its ground. How? Instead of digging its roots deep and solitary into the earth, the oak tree grows its roots wide and interlocks in the surrounding area. And you can't bring down 100 oak trees bound beneath the soil. In this way, in these connections that aren't seen in the same way, preached to you in a very empty room, we will survive. Let's forge connections and knit our communities together. Adapt the skills we have. I'm grateful to all of you and to so many in our community and our world who are being flexible in the ways we do life together. Ruth gave us the slip of paper last week that encouraged us to live out love, live out hope, live out change. I don't think any of us thought we would have so much practice so soon. And we are facing a challenge that is unprecedented in our lifetimes and acting on our values as we do it. So may we seek and create more love and connection in the time of distancing. May we cultivate hope in the midst of uncertainty. May we find some peace with each breath. And may we feel joy where we can in the time of challenge. May it be so. May we make it so. And amen. And now I invite you into whatever posture helps you sing for our final hymn. And I saw someone wanted hymn numbers so they can follow along at home perhaps. Our final hymn is 95. There is more love somewhere. Please join me in singing. in this time of uncertainty, we do not know what is ahead, but we do know who we are. We are people of love and people of hope and people of change. We are generous. We are flexible and adaptable. We will keep on moving forward in peace and in love, knitting our community together in these challenging times. I am so glad to see so many of your faces and names today. It fills my heart. I hope it fills yours as well. Go in peace. Go in love. Blessings, everyone. Take care. Be safe. Bye.